Charlie. Thinking about the outcome. Very good, you're on to it, but what you're thinking about is what's going to happen if I do this? What's going to happen if I do that? That's foresight. Isabel, you got something to add to that? Foresight means you have to do something. So you can't get out of doing something. There's a lot of things we have to do, but we shouldn't just do anything. Is it good to just do what I feel like doing right now? It may be, if it's a good thing that I feel like doing, but I may not feel like doing a good thing. I may be in a bad mood. And therefore, I gotta be, everything I think could be, I have to be carefully thinking about. Everything I'm wanting to say right now because I'm in a bad mood. I have to think about whether this is the right thing to say. And sometimes I don't act because I know if I say something, it's going to be the wrong thing to say. Correct? Anybody ever felt like that? I do that all the time. And then sometimes I still speak, and it was the wrong thing to say. And so that's not using foresight. So foresight is, no matter what you say, what you do, it's thinking about how the outcome of that is going to be. How is that going to affect other people? Did St. Luke have any foresight? What did he do that's still affecting us? He had a foresight. He wanted to do something that he thought would affect people. He probably didn't know how far it would affect, but it's still affecting us. Rocco. He wrote a gospel. What's a gospel? What's a gospel? Okay. What's a gospel? Eric. A book about Jesus. He wrote a book about Jesus' life. How many gospels are there? How many? Everybody say it. How many gospels? 4 gospels. And what are they? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's usually the order they come in. So those are 4 ways by which somebody had some foresight to write something, because you know what? They could tell you all about it. They could use their words that we talked about and say everything. And they did that. Everybody was telling everybody about Jesus in the time of Jesus. But they said, wait a minute. Someday we are going to hopefully go to heaven. We're going to die. And if we don't write this down, how's anybody going to know? So they wrote it down. And there's some traditions about St. Luke, speaking of hearing, because he's got some stories in his book, so there's some speculation. It means guessing. Who he might have been. There is some early guessing that he might have been one of the 2 guys on the road to Emmaus. Because that's only in his book. And so they think maybe it was Luke that was one of those 2 guys. And then he's also the one that in his book that is the only one that has written about what happened when Jesus was a baby. St. Matthew has a little bit in there, but St. Luke has a lot. Everything in that window on the left, we learn from St. Luke's Gospel. About Jesus going to Bethlehem, about Mary and Joseph going to Bethlehem on a donkey down at the bottom, with sheep and a shepherd on the left. And you got to get close sometimes to see all this. And an angel up on the right under the stars, and Joseph with his hand over Mary and the baby in the stable. All of that is in Luke's Gospel. Is it in any other Gospel? No. So what do you think they figured who did Luke get a chance to talk to and think? He might have got some of those stories about Jesus from. Eddie, Mary, Jesus' mother. So they think Luke interviewed Mary and got some of these stories. And not only that, they think that Luke he loved Mary so much, he loved that story so much, he painted a picture that we still have an image in this church today that's a copy of that original picture they think Luke might have painted. Does anybody know where that picture is? And your class all knows. I told you guys. The 5th, the 6th, and 7th graders all know. I told you guys. I told you. Tommy, I gotta test these guys. I told them. It's in the church. Where is it? The picture that Luke was supposed to, I got it. You got it? Easter. It's that one over there. It's called Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and there's a tradition that St. Luke painted that looking in there, in the very house. That's a tradition, but it's a very old icon, and it's very well could be true. And also there's one other thing that we know about St. Luke, or again, there's a tradition about St. Luke. What was his occupation? Before he wrote the gospel, followed Jesus, he had an occupation, he had a job that he did. He was supposedly pretty good at it. Okay, blanket living. Sorry? He's an artist. That was one thing. There was another job that he did. He was a doctor. What you think you got? Same thing. A doctor. They thought he was maybe a doctor too. Took care of people who were sick. So whatever St. Luke did, he did it for Jesus. That's the point of being a disciple. Whatever you do it for Jesus. And Jesus, what does Jesus say in the gospel today? By the way, Penny, they really got you hard today. They let you speak all of those Greek names, and you did very good. Did everybody else cower and let her do that? She did very good. A lot of Greek readings, a lot of Greek names in that first reading, and she did very good with them. But St. Paul talks about how he had to go into a courtyard, and he was all alone, and everybody deserted him. But what did he do? What did St. Paul do in that courtyard? He said, I made the proclamation. I talked about Jesus. Even though everybody left him, I talked about Jesus. Because people, he said that all the Gentiles might hear it. That was his mission. Paul was going to talk about Jesus. Luke, I'm going to paint a picture. I'm going to write the gospel. And Jesus says in the gospel today, the harvest is abundant. We just had what here yesterday? Big green thing with big fires on it. What was that yesterday? What was that big green? Where's Dean? There he is. What did we have here yesterday, Dean? A big green thing that your dad dropped off. Then your dad drove here in his park. Okay. It is a tractor. We have a tractor here. And so that tractor is meant to use to make harvest, to go out into the fields and help pick the beans. Of course, you don't do a tractor here, but another thing called a combine. And you pick the corn, but the tractor helps to plant the beans and all that. And that's called harvest. Jesus says there's something more important to harvest than even beans and corn. And what is that? What's the most important harvest that God wants to make? What is he trying to collect? What's he trying to make part of his own kingdom? Yes, who's he trying to get there? Tell me. We're the harvest. That's what Jesus is saying today. And he needs laborers, people, to go out and round up other people. And so, how are we supposed to do that? That's what we're learning. That's what you're learning now. St. Luke did it by writing about Jesus, by painting about Jesus. St. Paul did it by talking about Jesus. How can somebody do it, say, if you're a doctor? Anybody got a mom or dad as a doctor? How could you still be part of the harvest if your profession was being a doctor? You got it, Declan? Could a doctor ever talk to another doctor about Jesus? Could a doctor ever pray for their patients and ask God's help for them? Okay, what about if you were an engineer? Anybody like math? Tommy, you like math? I'm an engineer. Help, but in harvesting people for God. Could an engineer maybe talk about how, wow, look at how God created the world so perfect, and we can even mathematically see how he did it. Could an engineer talk about that, think about that, maybe write a book about that? Yeah. So how about a priest? How could a priest help in the harvest? Come on, it's a softball. I've heard you a lot of Declan, you got this one. that I talk to Jesus and spread God. If I'm not praying and talking to Jesus, I shouldn't be here talking to you about Jesus. That's a closing point. And that's what we have to do first. If we're going to do something for Jesus, we got to talk to Jesus. Ask him, what do you want me to do for you? Do you want me to be like St. Paul, St. Luke? Do you want me to be like Father John? Do you want me to be like Mom and Dad? Do you want me to be like somebody else, a dentist that I met? Had a picture of Jesus on her wall. What do you want me to do, Jesus, to talk about you? Because I want to be one of those who is going out for the harvest. I want to be like a farmer that's going to collect everybody for the kingdom of heaven. That's what I want. Does anybody else in this room want that? Does anybody else in this room want that? Raise your hand if you want that. You want to figure out a way to help Jesus go and make the harvest good. And he said, laborers are few, but not in this room.